Technically, you could raise the blade up really high, like here, where John called me on here.
I think it's safe to say that these safety demonstrations are, well, you've already left the safety. Let me explain. Setting the height of the table saw for safety already kills the cardinal rule. You're lowering the blade, and this is, high school textbook shit. So the idea is to lower the blade here, and that way there isn't any exposed blade that if you slip, less damage is going to cut. But why are your hands there? Okay? Here's the thing, if the board kicks out of the way, the blade's that high. And because the blade is low like that, you have to push down. And I'll show you why. Okay? Actually, it's better to use a crown guard, something protecting your saw, and the blade high so that it pushes down against the table. Especially when you're at the end of a long piece and feeding this end in, it's hard to actually be up here with a long board behind you. So let's set the blade up like everybody's told for safety. And the safety being as you took the crown guard off, and so your hands now can come in contact with the blade. This safety is less dangerous, but just as dangerous, because if the wood moves out of the way, you're putting down pressure. Now I've got that blade low. Let's set it up, okay? And let me see if I can feed it into that without it lifting. Oh, it wants to lift. Now there's a reason that the Americans love this style of push tip, because it adds forceward downward, because they've been told to lower their blade. European regulation guards, and this one actually is a regulation, is 30 centimeters away, and notice it's a very small. This little area here is allowing you to get in between your crown guard. This and the gripper and all of the inventions made to not cut your fingers all required you to remove safety gear. So understand that once you remove safety gear, you've already left the safety room. So let's raise the blade. Okay? Let's assume there's a crown guard here. Now I'm not kidding anybody. I work without a crown guard. But this is a small saw. And that's not an excuse. But I think that working this way and not understanding the dynamics, and Texas would understand what I mean, that man has ripped more lumber with a saw of this size than I've ever seen. That guy knows what works when he's working with a 20-foot piece. So let's set the saw up and see how well it holds down. I'm just holding the end. Look at that. Wants to stay on the table. So you see, the low saw is actually more dangerous at kickbacks because it's a lower blade at the back. So if you don't have a riving knife, which I would recommend, or at least a splitter, it's easy to think that I've got nice plywoods and they're well behaved. But if you're working with any solid timber, there's no way to predict which way it will pinch or spread, and reaction timber is what we call. You'll be able to mill that as well, especially if you have a crown guard riving knife and you're beginning. The reason the schools tell you to do that is because you don't know anything and they're trying to reduce damage. What the school should do is make all operations with a crown guard, but instead they've gotten sauced up because people routinely put their hands in harm's way. So you see, a low blade is higher risk of kickback. Kickback, incidentally, is the only table saw operation that has killed somebody. Now, kickback can certainly happen with a tall blade. Once again, the riving knife will help that. But a crown guard properly set up won't typically let a board come up. It's sort of keeping it from coming up. So it can pinch and some violent stuff could happen, but those three things in unison is what make the operation safe. Okay, the primary guards are there to protect you from your hands touching the blade. And all regulations since the 1920s in Europe have said your hands can't be more than 30 centimeters or 1 foot away from the blade at any time. So if you have a low blade, there's no way for you to control a foot away and hold it down there. American style is to have one of these and get your hand right there. Well, guess what? When that does a kickback, that's out of the way, and now your hand is right on top of the saw blade. Now I get it. We were cross-cutting, Jack, and that's what we were talking about. Why would a high-bladed cross-cut work better? Well, once again, the same thing. You're holding it down. Now, this is a sliding table, and so when I hold this down, I'm not actually pushing it like this where it can be skippy and skiddy, okay? And so I prefer the sliding rip plate fence by the Europeans. This fence was designed in the 1920s, and you can see the actual rip plate, the part that slides back, is allowing us to adjust the length of the fence to the table saw, so when we finish our cutting, it's not going to snag us. Now I have a piece of wood on the front of this, but I'll show you, this is made actually to go behind the gullet. You can actually see that the plate here actually is shaped to the gullet. And that would be corresponded to about right here. So that once you're finished your cut, there is no offcut within here. And if you're sliding across a table, which this could be skidding around all over the place, it is well maintained all the way until just the last moment of cut. And then it's free to fall away. Once again, why do you want it high on a crosscut? Because the blades are diving in here, this is clean. Okay, that's going to be, if it comes up here, it can pull chips off. And if we have a little spoil board on the back side, that is a perfectly clean cut. Especially if you have a zero clearance insert. In this case, I have zero clearance sliding table. So let's see how that is. Ground guard really low. Nice, clean cut. Super clean cut. Like I said, if we had a little spoil board in the back, I don't know if you can get much cleaner than that. Thanks for watching.